This is Haley Gant. Haley Gant came from Houston, and she's actually a much better speaker than I am, to be honest. So she is going to be giving the presentation tonight. Nathan, as most of you know, he's in Houston, and with a tropical storm, he actually lost his power, so he wasn't able to come in today. So Haley made it. Like I mentioned, Haley is a very, very good speaker. She actually travels all across the U.S. for conferences and speaks about private money lending, how to raise capital, the benefits of self-directed IRA investing. So we're actually very lucky to have her here today. It's her first time in Austin. But it's exciting to have you guys here today. It's been a crazy year and a half. The last event, we were just kind of going back in memories now, was in January 28th. It was our big casino party. We had about 100 people here. I believe you were here, right? A few of you were here, and it was such a fun event. We had poker tables, a big networking event, and that's what we love doing at Quest. We love throwing different educational and networking opportunities where you guys can meet other investors, because we truly believe that your network is your net worth. So that is one of the big aspects that we do here at Quest, and what kind of stands us out from other self-directed IRA companies is the fact that we actually, aside from the events that we're doing in person, and this being our first one, it's kind of like a little experiment to see if we should continue maybe doing some of these hybrid events as well. But a big part of our thing is education, right? We always want to make sure that you know all the different investment opportunities that are out there. You meet other great people, like at the Real Estate Investor Network groups, at all these different networking event opportunities that are available to you. So that's what we try to do here at Quest. So before we actually get started, we did have a few sponsors that weren't able to make it because they were coming in from Houston, but the real ones that actually made it in is the Passive Investor Network. So we're going to actually allow for them to go ahead and introduce themselves. They're going to, our vendors are fully vetted by us. We want to make sure that whenever we bring in sponsors or vendors to our events, you know, they're actually quality investors and are familiar with the self-directed IRAs and things like that. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself. I don't think we have an extra mic, but
thanks. Thank you. I'm Ryan. I'm with Passive Investor Network. So really quickly, Passive Investor Network. Oh, getting the camera. Yeah, that makes sense. We good? So the Passive Investor Network is actually a fully integrated real estate investment service provider. So for people who have a self-directed IRA, they can actually invest in real estate. So from pillar to post, PIN has the deal source, realty advisor, construction services on those investments, leasing and listing services, brokerage, and then property management, as well as a portfolio advisor. So every PIN member actually has someone who is responsible for helping them understand not only, you know, where they want to go, right, what their goal is, but also how to get there. And this individual is, you know, charged with making sure that every quarter they're looking at your portfolio. They're saying, okay, here's what we're going to do based on the plan. We're going to acquire 2 new properties. We're going to do disposition on this. So it's someone within there who is geared toward your goals within PIN. And because everything goes through PIN, the deal source, the construction, brokerage, property management, it all goes in and back out to the IRA, so there's no issues with being disqualified, right? You're never commingling funds with PIN. Also, we have strategic partners that work with Quest IRA as well to do lending within an IRA, which I think is just unbelievable. It's tremendous to be able to leverage your retirement vehicle like that. And we've done multiple properties like that where someone can go in. I think they'll lend 60 to 70% on a non-recourse loan within the IRA. And again, because PIN is helping or facilitating that, there's no issues along those lines. The money's just coming in and going right back in to your IRA with returns that are pretty outsized. Also, for folks who are syndicating or raising money, PIN can also fulfill for that. We do, or PIN is doing right now, build to rent, which is kind of the biggest thing coming on. So building duplexes, building single-family homes, renting those properties out. Also, we have a strategic partnership with a company called PadSplit, and PadSplit has a platform for scaling co-living. So taking a normal, maybe 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, turning it into an 8-bedroom home, and renting out those rooms individually by the week. So a house that in Houston that rents for $1,700 a month now rents for $4,800 a month. And so you can start to see what I like about that is it kind of blends the multifamily aspect with the benefits of single family. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, my email is ryan@passiveinvestor.net, our website, passiveinvestor.net, or after the event, you can come give me a shout. Thanks. Appreciate Quest, always.
Thanks, Ryan. So how many of you guys, is it your first time attending one of our Quest events here in Austin? I see a few new people. Well, welcome. Hope you guys enjoy it. So feel free to make this as interactive as you can. Ask Haley as many questions as you want. Honestly, we're here to help educate you. And then also we have an online platform as well, which I'm going to go back and make sure that we're moderating. So if we have any questions online, again, we're doing this as a hybrid event, but I'm sure some of these words like non-recourse loans and things like that, disqualified people may have seen a little bit unfamiliar to you, but Haley is actually going to do kind of like a basic presentation on self-directed IRA investing, and then it's going to touch on the private money part. So Haley, take it away.
Awesome, thank you. All right, let's see if I can get this connected. Can't see that. All right. Can y'all hear me? No? Maybe a little bit? 1 second. Don't worry, guys, it's worth the wait. All right, perfect. That's a little bit better. I know you guys can probably hear me okay, but the people online, the microphone is definitely very important. So, hello everyone, my name is Haley Gant. My clicker is working, so we're good to go. But I'm really excited to be here in Austin tonight. As Ingrid was mentioning, this is actually only my second time I've ever been to our Austin office. I've been to Austin, I've got friends that live here, but I actually live down in Houston. I grew up there, I lived in Houston for most of my life, and I've actually grown up around quite a bit of real estate investing down in Houston as well. So a little bit of background about me. I've been with Quest for about 5 years now. I am now our Assistant Marketing Manager, which is kind of a new title, which is really exciting. But I've grown up around real estate pretty much my entire life. When I was in kindergarten, my parents both quit their corporate jobs, went to Vegas for the weekend, and then on Monday they started buying houses and started investing in real estate. That's literally the exact story of how it went. That was in 1999, and then in 2004 they also started a hard money lending company down in Houston. If anyone here is familiar with Jet Lending, with Eddie Gant, with Jet Lending, that does happen to be my dad, so I had no choice but to grow up surrounded by everything real estate. And once I graduated college and I got out into the real world, I got the opportunity to work at Quest, and time has flown since then. It's now been about 5 years since I've been working at Quest. And now, as Ingrid was saying, I really enjoy giving presentations, teaching people not only about self-directed IRAs, but about some of the things that I've learned and I've picked up in my lifetime that I think will help you guys not only be more successful in your real estate investments, but also kind of just a different way of thinking, how you can grow your network. You know, even if you're not in a room with people that have exactly what you need, they probably know someone that has something that you need. So there's always opportunities out there for you guys. And lo and behold, I really enjoy teaching people about retirement accounts. Hopefully this is one of the more exciting IRA presentations that you guys will see. But today's presentation is going to focus about building consistent cash flow by being the bank. And I will let you guys know, this is not my PowerPoint. I started reviewing this PowerPoint around 4 p.m. today when Nathan officially could not make it to Austin. So we'll get through it. I have a lot of experience in not only IRAs, growing up around real estate, but I also do invest into real estate myself with my boyfriend down in Houston. We've got some rentals, we've got some short-term rentals, and we also do some private lending out of our IRAs as well. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation. If you guys are watching online and you have questions, just throw them into the Q&A box. Ingrid will answer them for you, and we'll get everyone's questions answered. I know we've got quite a few people in the room here, but we do also have, hopefully, quite a few people watching online as well. So it should be a pretty good event, but you guys here in person, if y'all have questions at any point, raise your hand, ask them. I do like for these presentations to be interactive. So if y'all have questions, just let me know. And quick disclaimer, please be aware, at Quest, we do not give tax, legal, or investment advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into investments. Do not rush into deals with people that you do not know. Hopefully you guys learned some good things tonight that will help you go out there and make sure that you are doing deals with the right people. But please make sure, consult your attorneys, consult your CPA, build a power team around you, and don't rush into deals with people that you do not know, because at the end of the day, that will only help you be more successful, because we're here to make money, we're not here to lose money. So quick disclaimer, gotta get that out of the way. And then let's go ahead and get right into it. So this first slide here, what is a self-directed IRA? Now, before I get into this, I kind of want to gauge how much you guys know about us. Who here has a Quest account? Who here has an IRA? Nice, okay. Who here out of those people is investing with a Roth IRA? Ooh, not quite as many hands. All right, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Who here does not have a self-directed IRA, really looking to learn, looking to build some wealth, build some tax-free wealth, more importantly? All right, awesome. So at Quest, you'll hear us refer a lot to this term self-directed IRA. To be completely honest, the IRAs that we hold at Quest legally are exactly the same as any IRA that you have at any other custodian. The only difference is the types of assets that your custodian allows you to invest in. So where most traditional financial advisors, most traditional custodians, their platforms are really set up to allow you to hold stocks, mutual funds, publicly traded securities. At Quest, we actually do the complete opposite. So we specifically hold privately held assets that our clients self-direct their IRAs into. So self-directed is really just a marketing term, but it's our kind of way of saying that you as the client actually get to choose where your IRA funds are invested. You get to choose how those deals are structured, who you work with, and at the end of the day, these IRA accounts that get really awesome tax benefits, you can apply the skill set and the knowledge that you have as a real estate investor to these accounts that could potentially be completely tax sheltered and grow your money completely tax-free based off of investments that you have more control over. So you'll find as I go through this presentation, I am very passionate and very excited about self-directed IRAs. It's not just because I work at Quest and I want to open up accounts. That's not really why. I've actually seen the impact that this has had on my own personal life. When my parents started their business in 2004, they rolled their IRAs over to Quest back when Quest was an Entrust franchise. So over a decade ago, and I am not going to lie, my very first day at Quest, when I got my credentials and I got my login information, I looked at my parents. I was like, all right, Eddie, Debbie, what are we working with? What do we have in our IRA accounts? And I was really shocked at how big you can actually grow an IRA in a matter of only 10 years, 10xing your IRA, 10x, gotta love that term in this business. But there's a really big opportunity here. And what's really great about real estate is we all have our own skill sets. We all have the things that we're good at. There's a way that you can apply the skills that you have to these accounts that get special tax advantages. And it's not going to immediately be successful and have those returns overnight. But with IRAs, we're playing the long game. It's not about what you're doing today. It's about what you can do today that will grow over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And since I'm already on this subject, I do think that there's something really big to be said here about generational wealth. Personally, I've had a lot of opportunities in my life because of the sacrifices that my parents made 20 years ago. And my boyfriend, who also now invests into real estate as well, he has a pretty big inherited IRA from his parents that we've been able to do about 7 to 8 private lending deals and 1 passive investment into a multifamily deal this year because of the money that they started investing 20 to 30 years ago. So I know that the business today is crazy. Real estate is so hot. I personally think it's only going up from here. But if you start making these little changes and these little moves to start investing your money today, it's going to have a really big impact on your ability to build long-term wealth 20 to 30 years from now, and also for your kids as they start to grow as well. But at the end of that tangent, we'll go ahead and move on to the types of accounts. So Basically, to sum that up, self-directed, really just a marketing term. There's a lot of benefits to this. If you guys have more questions about this, I would definitely recommend that you watch our basics class. It's actually our self-directed IRA social that we hosted in Houston last week, was all over our basics. And Nathan did actually teach that class. So if you really want to find out who's a better speaker, me or Nathan, go online to our YouTube channel and watch that class, and you'll be able to get all of the content that was offered there as well. But moving right along, I know tonight's class is about building up income in your IRA from doing passive private lending. But in order to be successful with investing with your IRA, the very first step that you need to know is what types of accounts should you be self-directing. Again, self-directed, really just a marketing term. All of these accounts that you see here on the screen are technically self-directed IRAs, but it'll more so be like a self-directed traditional IRA, a self-directed Roth IRA, and so on. So we actually have 7 different types of accounts at Quest that can be self-directed. I'm going to do my best not to spend too long on these because this PowerPoint has a lot of slides in it and I want to get through everything for you guys. But the most important points that I want to hit on this slide here, and I know we have a lot of current clients in the room, but if you are really looking to maximize the tax-free wealth that you're building in these accounts, I would really recommend that you actually sit down with one of our IRA specialists and go through a full consultation. Even if you're already a client, maybe if it's been a while, maybe if some life situations have changed, over the last couple of years, there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize multiple accounts between you and your immediate family to grow multiple buckets of money, completely tax deferred or tax free, all at the same time. Because in reality, most Americans out there, they don't just have one IRA account. Most families out there have multiple accounts between themselves. It's more so maybe the husband has a 401k. He left his job a couple years ago, hasn't really done anything with it. The wife has a small Roth IRA that she started years ago, but there's really not much in there. But maybe you guys have also started your real estate business where you now have some self-employment income. There's a lot of different moving parts here, and honestly, to really understand how to best utilize these 7 different types of accounts and really figure out which ones apply to you and which ones you even qualify for in the first place, sit down with us, go through a one-on-one consultation. You guys that are local here in Austin, we actually have an IRA specialist here. His name is Steve. Steve Sabaji. Don't even try to get the spelling of his last name. We'll get you his business card. It's a little complicated there. Yeah, Juan, I see you laughing in the back. But Steve is fantastic. He has been with our team for about a year now, but he has several years of experience in the retirement space. So he knows all about these accounts in depth, and I would definitely recommend that you guys check that out. Even if you guys watching online, we'll put some links in the chat. That way you guys can have a really easy way to schedule a consultation with us. But when it comes to these 7 different types of accounts, most Americans typically have their funds in some sort of personal plan, traditional IRA or Roth IRA. Who here does not have a Roth IRA? I'm going to call you out. Raise your hand. I know it's more than one person. If I have one big takeaway to give to you guys from this slide here, I want every single one of you to get a Roth IRA open this year. Max out your contributions if you're eligible. If you make a really high income, you're not eligible to make a direct contribution to a Roth IRA. But who here has a 401k or a traditional IRA? You see a lot more hands go up, right? Or, whatever. You see like 5 more hands go up based on this room. But most Americans have their funds in some sort of tax deferred account, a traditional IRA, or maybe a 401k from their previous employer. And the biggest difference between these accounts here is with your 401k or with your traditional IRA. No matter how large you grow this account, none of that money has been taxed yet. It's growing tax deferred. So if you grow your traditional IRA to $1 million by the time you hit retirement, not all of that money is actually yours. However, if you start a Roth IRA, or if you do something really awesome called a Roth conversion, where you can basically take funds from your tax-deferred traditional IRA and move them into your Roth IRA. It's called a Roth conversion. Basically, whenever you do this, you pay taxes on whatever amount you move into the Roth. So if I do a $10,000 Roth conversion today, when I pay my taxes for the year, I'm going to have $10,000 in additional taxable income. But once I pay the taxes on that $10,000 that I put into the Roth IRA, everything else that I invest and that I grow from there for the rest of my life, I will never pay any taxes on. So if I start out with, yeah, we'll answer the question first.
I was going to ask, with the conversion you're talking about, is that also known as like the backdoor law?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'll repeat it for the people online. But the question was, is that also referred to as the backdoor Roth? So yes. So if your income is over what we call the phase-out limits, where you're not eligible to make a direct contribution to a Roth IRA, all you have to do is make your contribution to a traditional IRA first, and then just fill out a one-page form to convert it to the Roth IRA. It's a great way to still get money into a Roth IRA, even if you're already in a higher income class. So great question there. Yeah.
If you do a conversion from the traditional to the Roth, and then use your Roth as a down payment,
Ooh, good question.
on a piece of property, then you have to get a non-recourse mortgage. Are you then subject to UBIT?
Yes, getting right into the UBIT questions. I love it. Yes, so I'm going to try not to get too far into UBIT on my third slide of my PowerPoint, because it can get really into the weeds really quickly. But yes, if you do a conversion into the Roth IRA and then you invest into either debt leveraged property or an ongoing trade or business, it would still trigger UBIT because it's based off of the type of investment. But if you guys have more UBIT questions, we'll get to those at the end. I don't want to spend too much time on that here right in the beginning. But regardless, the main point of this is I firmly believe that every person out there should either be making contributions to a Roth IRA, or if you have all of your funds in a traditional IRA, talk to your CPA and see if it makes sense to start converting pieces of your account to a Roth IRA each year. Because if you grow a Roth IRA to $1 million by the time you hit retirement, all of that money is actually yours. It's already been taxed. You don't have to pay anything to Uncle Sam once you start taking it out. And even better, eventually, whenever you pass away and you pass that account on to your heirs, they also inherit that money completely tax-free. So it's a great way to pass that wealth on to your heirs, to the next generation without any taxes. Now, moving right along, we also have employer plans. We also have specialty plans. Again, I would recommend setting up a consultation to really walk through with us the different types of accounts to see which ones you qualify for. But if you have self-employment income, these plans in the middle allow for much larger contribution limits, and a lot of times it's also tax deductible. So if you're self-employed and you're looking for ways to maybe minimize your tax liability from the year, a contribution to an employer plan like a SEP IRA could be a great way to do that. Last but not least, the specialty plans, the health savings account and the education savings account. And I know I'm spending a lot of time on this, but it's really important because you have to understand the types of accounts that you can invest with and that you can grow. And the more types of accounts that you can use, the more buckets of money that you can grow at the same time to use and to shelter from your own taxes each year. The health savings account can be used to pay for any of your health expenses, completely tax-free. Even if you are nowhere near 59 and a half, you can take tax-free distributions from your HSA to reimburse yourself from your qualified health expenses. This could be anything from like the chiropractor, doctor, dental, eyeglasses. It's really, really broad. And same thing for the Coverdell Education Savings Account. The Coverdell, honestly, they're usually pretty small. Most people overlook them because they think, I can only put in $2,000 a year. That's not enough to self-direct. But if you can get past that initial barrier, this account can be used to pay for any of your children's or grandchildren's educational expenses completely tax-free from kindergarten up until the age of 30. And where the real magic comes in is not with our classes, we do host classes with these, but where the real magic comes in is all of these accounts can be partnered together, especially if you're looking to use these accounts to be a passive private lender. On your promissory note, where your IRA is normally just listed as the lender is typically Quest Trust Company for the benefit of your name and your IRA account number. It is so easy to just extend that titling to include multiple accounts on these deals. So as you guys are going out there and you're looking to self-direct your IRAs and you're looking to build up this tax-deferred or tax-free wealth in these accounts, you need to be looking at all of your accounts for both you and your immediate family, partner them together, and honestly, this is exactly what I did with my Roth IRA. I was able to take my own personal Roth IRA from about $11,000 to $27,000 in about 3 years, literally just from partnering it with my mom's Roth IRA. And we'll get to some of these rules and restrictions here in a minute, but it was funny because, you know, my parents have been Quest clients for several years now. I started working at Quest, I opened up my own IRA, my dad is funding real estate deals, and I walked over to our real estate department in Houston and I asked them, is my dad's next deal, is my IRA partnered in on that? And they said no, and I said, send it back. Don't fund the deal, just send it back. And I was kind of joking, but lo and behold, my IRA ended up getting partnered in on the next deal. So literally just by owning 8 to 12% of a few different investments over the course of a few years, my IRA almost tripled in value. So it's definitely possible, especially if you guys are starting with a small amount. Or maybe, you know, you're just getting into it, so you're kind of looking to, you know, move some money over, kind of play with it, see how it goes, then maybe move some more over and do the next deal from there. There's a really big opportunity here to partner multiple IRAs, HSAs, and ESAs together and grow all of these accounts at the same time. So all of these accounts can be self-directed. You can partner them together, and especially for private lending, which was what we're here to talk about tonight, it makes it really easy because it's one investment, but it's multiple IRAs together listed as the lender on one investment together. Doesn't have to be family. Yeah, it could be anybody. Yeah, as long as like you're partnering and you're just dividing up the percentages of ownership, all of the IRAs are on the same side of the investment, you can partner all day long. Yeah, of course.
So let's say, let's say I do a flip and I pull out whatever. Can I take part of it and just put it into my Roth IRA?
So that's a good question. So the question was, if he's an investor, he's, you know, doing the deal, can he pull some of that money out and just put it into his Roth IRA? Technically, you can. That would be considered a contribution, so it would be limited to the annual contribution limits. Basically, any money that you take from your own personal funds and put into the IRA will be subject to that IRA's annual contribution limits, which for a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA is either $6,000 a year or $7,000 if you're over the age of 50. Yeah, they give you a whole extra $1,000 to catch up at that point. But honestly, that's a really great point because that's really where it comes down to, you know, do I only qualify for the Roth IRA or do I have self-employment income? Can I find a way to file some of my income as self-employment income and make those larger contributions? Does my husband have a Roth IRA? Do we have a health savings account? Do we have children? And if you kind of start piecing all of these accounts together, you might actually be able to come up with a lot more money than you initially expected. And most people just have no idea they need to be really asking themselves those questions. It's a great question. I love all the good questions, except the UBIT ones in the beginning. No, I love UBIT. I inadvertently became our in-house UBIT expert because I go to all of the multifamily events in Dallas, and that's always the hot topic of conversation there. So we'll get that into a little bit more if you guys really want to at the end. But okay, now we know the types of accounts that can be self-directed. You understand that between you and your immediate family, you need to be looking at all of the different types of accounts, not just the one. You know, you really need to be looking at what you guys can all do together. But it is really important to be aware that there are some restrictions. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably already know these a little bit, so I'll kind of just talk about it conceptually. Consider yourselves lucky. I deleted about 6 slides about prohibited transactions out of this PowerPoint, so I'll spare you a little bit there. But when you're investing with your IRA, it is important to know that there are some restrictions. Basically, our IRAs get really awesome tax advantages to help us save for retirement. Therefore, the IRS wants you to use your IRA to save for retirement. They do not want you using your IRA investments to benefit you directly or indirectly today. Now, that's kind of a grand view, overall, conceptual about it. There's some really black and white technical rules here, but basically what does that mean? I cannot benefit from my own IRA investments. I can't use my IRA to loan myself money. If I already own a real estate deal, I can't use my IRA to fund into that deal. Or I can't take a property that I already own and put it into my IRA. That's no longer just benefiting my IRA for retirement. I know it's always the look of disappointment that we see. But since your IRA is really there to benefit you in retirement, it's really important that you keep your own personal money and your own personal investments arm's length from your IRA investments. So there's some really kind of like technical rules here. There's people that are considered disqualified people. Basically me, as a disqualified person, I can't use my IRA to fund into my own deal. Can't use my IRA to loan myself money. There's a few other family members that are just as disqualified as I am. It's just a few of them. It's me, my spouse, my parents, my kids, their spouses, and any companies that these people own, just as disqualified as that individual. So this is really important as you guys are looking and you're going out to use your IRA to be a private lender. Obviously, sometimes the most easy people that you could find to loan your money to would be like my family, right? Oh, I can loan it to my spouse. I can loan it to my dad, my kids. Unfortunately, you cannot do that. Those are black and white rules that are set by the IRS. But in my opinion, I believe that once you know this small list of people that your IRA can't do the deals with, and you know the small list of things that your IRA can't do with these people, now you can look at everyone else out there. Everyone look around this room. I don't think we have any siblings, parents, daughters, anything like that in here. So this is where it really comes down to utilizing your network. Understand the people that are 100% hands-off, can't do those deals with your IRA. And then this is when you really need to understand how to introduce this topic of conversation to the other people in your network. That way you guys can kind of do potentially some deals together. Maybe you can use your IRA to be a private lender on her deal. Maybe you can use your IRA to be a private lender on his deal and kind of create this own little network amongst you guys. But then again, that's really where you want to make sure that you're doing the due diligence. Don't just loan money to someone because you met them at a real estate event or you met them at a Quest event. You want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people. That way you can have better success in hopefully your investments. Yes, question.
I loan my money to Joel, and then Joel invests in my property.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. So the question was, can Trevor loan his money to Joel, and then Joel would directly invest into Trevor's company, or whatever that scenario was? Unfortunately, you could, technically, that investment would not raise any red flags on our end because you guys are not disqualified people to each other. However, if you ever were to get audited by the IRS and the IRS sees a clear paper trail of, hey, you loaned money from your IRA to this guy, he loaned money from his IRA to you, and y'all directly went back and forth with that, that could potentially be seen as a direct or indirect benefit to you guys. So all you really need to do in that scenario is just add someone else in. Maybe instead of loaning it directly to each other, you loan your money to her, she loans her money to Joel, Joel loans his money to you, so you've added more people to the mix there. If you ever were to get audited by the IRS in that scenario, it'd be really hard to prove for them that you guys directly, did it back and forth with each other and, kind of had that indirect benefit there. So that investment would get funded more than likely, but it is something that you would want to be aware of. And with these restrictions and the IRS rules, if you ever get audited and they deem that there's a prohibited transaction, it can blow up the entire IRA. So you really want to be careful with that. I always like to tell people that some investments make really great IRA investments. Some investments, maybe do that with your own funds outside of the IRA so you don't have to worry about those restrictions. For example, if you want to invest with your mom or your child, or for me, short-term rentals. I love short-term rentals, but I only buy short-term rentals where I actually want to go stay there. I want to go enjoy my house. I want to go enjoy my cabin in the mountains, So I don't buy those properties in my IRA because I don't want to worry about those restrictions. But if I'm going to use my IRA to passively invest into someone else's multifamily deal that we're not related at all, but I've known them for several years and I've seen them do a lot of deals that have been really successful, that makes a really great IRA investment because it's really easy to keep that one at arm's length. Does that kind of make sense for you guys? Awesome. So moving right along, probably not doing the best on time, but we'll be all right. This is where you have your investment choices. So once you know the types of accounts that you can self-direct, you understand the direction that you want to go with it, you started to add people to your network, this is where it really comes down to what do you actually want to invest your IRA into. Now, I will say that a lot of our clients have IRAs at both types of custodians, where at Quest, these are all privately held assets that our clients self-direct their IRAs into. You'll notice there's no stocks, there's no mutual funds or CDs, any sort of publicly traded security. We don't actually hold those types of assets. So what a lot of our clients might do, especially while they're getting started, is say if they have their IRA at Fidelity that's invested into mutual funds right now, they might just move over a portion of their IRA, they might just move over what they intend on self-directing, and maybe do a loan with part of their funds, see how it goes. Maybe once that one pays off, or they have more conversations, they come to more Quest events, and they find more people to do deals with, then kind of move more money over at that point based on where your deals are going on at any given time. But these investments can be broken down into 3 different categories: real estate, private placements, and promissory notes. Now, promissory notes, which is what we're here to talk about tonight, this is about 50% of the transactions that we fund at Quest. A lot of our clients really like to use their IRAs to be 100% passive. Passive investor network. You guys all know about people wanting to be passive, and it's a really popular investment option, especially as people are kind of getting their feet wet, they're first getting involved, especially with how crazy and how hot the market is right now. It's really competitive out there. For a lot of people, it's a lot easier to be a passive private lender than to actually go out and buy the real estate with their IRA and really make sure that they're following all of the rules. So at Quest, we fund about 500 to 600 new transactions every single month. About half of those are some sort of promissory note. So we see a lot of people that either purchase existing notes or use their IRAs to be private lenders. Now, after this slide, we will go through some of the kind of do's and don'ts of private lending. I'll kind of share what I found that I think helps make people successful. But I do want to take a second to cover the other investment options on the screen here. Private placements, this would be like passive investments into apartment complexes, commercial deals, private startup companies, private bank stock. You really have a lot of options here. Again, you cannot invest your IRA into your own entity, but if you know other people in the industry that they've got a deal going, they're raising capital for, you could certainly use your IRA to invest into that deal. And sometimes we see those returns and they are very, very high. You've got to do it right. You've got to be in with the right people. But we've seen a lot of people double their money in a matter of a couple of years just by investing passively into multifamily or different types of commercial deals. And last but not least is real estate. You can actually buy a physical property and have it titled in the name of your IRA. We see people do this. It's a great option because all of the appreciation is completely tax sheltered in your IRA account, but you've got to keep it at arm's length. You can't pay for anything yourself. It has to come from the IRA. You've got a question. What's up?
Yeah, so I just have to pick on your boss a little bit because I know.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
How many times has he given this presentation for these slides?
Probably a lot.
Well, being a little bit OCD, I have to point out that there are 2 misspelled words on this slide.
Oh, let's see it. Where?
Private entities and tax liens are both misspelled.
That's all right. We'll get that fixed. Thank you.
Yeah, but just.
Make sure this guy doesn't win anything from the prize wheel, okay? I'm just kidding.
That Bill Kreider pointed out. He'll probably say, yeah, it figures.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll fix. Hey, if we don't fix it next time, call us out, all right?
All right.
All right, thanks.
Just a little OCD.
Bill, right? Bill Kreider?
Yeah.
All right, I'll remember that. I'm just kidding. I don't make these slides, so we're good. Awesome. So anyways, we have a lot of different investment options. We see a lot of people that invest into all different types of things, but what it really comes down to is what are you good at? Where's your skill set? What are you passionate about? And where do you... And spell checking. You want to teach the class? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I'll stop being sassy, you guys. All right, moving right along. So again, we see a lot of people that are doing this, and this is a really fun statistic. This is actually from Forbes. Only 2% of IRAs in America are self-directed. It's not because people don't want to do this, it's because there's really not a lot of education out there. You guys will find, there's other companies that do what we do, but we are really one of the only companies in the whole country that actually has classrooms set up that teach this type of education on an ongoing weekly and monthly basis, both in person and online. So only 2% of IRAs in America are self-directed, yet 25% of all IRAs over $5 million are self-directed. Guys, there's a really big opportunity here. It's not going to happen overnight, but where the magic really comes in is learning about how this works, do a deal, open up your IRAs, partner them together, do another deal, and just let it consistently grow on itself. Over the next 5, 10, 20, or maybe even 30 years, you're going to be very, very happy that you started doing this today. Because one of the biggest arguments that we hear from people, or one of the biggest roadblocks that we see is, well, I don't have an IRA. I don't really have that much. $20,000 isn't enough to do a real estate deal. And the reality of that is if you're trying to buy a $500,000 house with your IRA and you only have $20,000 in the account, you're probably right. You probably don't have enough money to do that deal, but that's not your only option that you have. You can do small loans to other investors. You can partner accounts together. If you have friends, family, you can partner together, collaborate the accounts, and just from doing that, continue to do those deals. Even if it's just 1 or 2 a year, your money is going to end up growing exponentially. Because if you start with $11,000 like I did a few years ago, it's kind of hard to start with that. But once you do those first few deals, once you get through that, and it grows to $30,000, and then it grows to $50,000, and then it grows to $100,000, it just gets easier and easier to invest that money. And at the end of the day, you're going to be really happy that you did that. And speaking from experience, your kids are going to be very happy that you did it as well. So, yes. I'm looking out for typos now, so thank you. Awesome. So let's get kind of into the meat of the lending part of the presentation, and I will let you guys know these are the part of the slides that I did not write myself, so we're going to get through this together. But how do you use these accounts to be an IRA investor? One of the best ways, or one of the potentially best ways, is to be a passive private lender. This is what I've done with my IRA. My boyfriend has done it with his IRA. We see a lot of people do it, every single month, and you really have a lot of options. But in order to be a successful private lender with your IRA, you have to know who you're doing your deals with. You have to make sure you do the right due diligence before you get into these deals, and you want to make sure that you're looking at a few of these things as well. Now, one thing that we always like to say is, as a lender, you need to be looking at this deal as if a bank or a hard money lender or underwriter was looking at the deal. Look at the property, figure out what the repairs are, make sure that you're not over-loaning on this property, and if you need to reach out to other people in the industry that have done this before, definitely pull people in on your power team that can help you evaluate these numbers. You want to make sure you understand the property that you're loaning on. And when you do this loan, you don't, say if the loan is for $100,000, when we fund that deal, you don't actually have to fund all of that $100,000 at the initial investment funding. You could fund $50,000 of that loan, and then once your borrower has come back, they've done the repairs that they need to do with that money, then you can do essentially a draw on that. You loan out the additional $20,000, the next $10,000, until you get up to the ultimate final number that was in that promissory note. This is exactly what hard money lenders do. And guys, if hard money lenders do it, if it's part of their business, there's probably a reason why they do it that way. So you want to make sure that you're looking at this and you're really communicating with your borrower to make sure that you're loaning out the right amount, first of all, and that as you're doing this loan, you're keeping tabs of the repairs that they're doing and send out the money in draws as well. Talk to your borrower about their other projects and how they're going. Make sure they are not overcommitted. This is something that, honestly, all of these bullet points are very important, but you want to make sure that you've really got an overall feel for the situation. I also really think that, especially if you're doing your first private lending deal or two, Make friends with people that have done this before. You want to be able to have buddies in this business that you can call up and strike up a conversation as a friend and just be like, hey man, I've got this deal going. I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. You want to make sure that you're going out there and making the right valuable connections. So when you're doing this for the first time, you can rely on other people that will help you be successful in these deals as well. We also see a lot of people that do these loans more short term. You know, if you loan your money out on a 5-year loan and there's no principal and interest payments being paid every month, you potentially have, you know, the potential to get yourself into some hot water here because this loan has a very long time span on it. If you realize that your borrower's in trouble, but there's no principal and interest payments that are being paid back every month, and you have 4 years left on the loan, there could potentially be some ways that it could really be hard to get your money back. So I think something that really comes into all of this is make sure that you have someone reputable structuring your documents for you that has done this before, that's a lender's attorney, not someone who's going to be drafting the documents in favor of the borrower, but you want to make sure that your attorney that you're using to draft all your documents has this proper language in there and that you're taking the time to make sure that you're taking all of these things into consideration. And we've got a lot more bullet points on this slide as well. So this one is really important here. If your borrower defaults on the loan, do you even want to own this property? We've seen a lot of people that will do loans out of state because they're like, oh, the returns are great, the borrower really knows what they're doing. But what if something happens? What if that borrower passes away and you end up having to foreclose on that deal? Do you have the boots on the ground and the ability to manage this property if it's located in like Delaware? I don't know Delaware. Do you guys know Delaware? I just pulled out a random state. But it is really important to make sure that you are loaning on the types of properties that if the worst case scenario happens and you have to foreclose, it's not going to be a bigger headache than it's worth with your IRA now owning this property. Also, don't loan to someone you would feel uncomfortable foreclosing on. Do you notice when I mentioned all those disqualified people? You, spouse, parents, kids, their spouses. Did I mention brothers or sisters or aunts or uncles? No. I did not. So those disqualified people are really only people directly up and down on your family tree. So brothers, sisters, people more side to side on your family tree technically are not disqualified. Your IRA technically could do a loan to these people, but if something goes south with that, would you feel comfortable foreclosing on your brother? Do you guys have that type of relationship? Is it going to make Thanksgiving or family trips a little awkward, you know? So that is definitely something you want to take into consideration. Also, at the end of the day, you really want to make sure when you're loaning your money out of your IRA that there's no direct or indirect benefit to someone who's disqualified to the account. When you're dealing with family members, even if they're not disqualified, you want to be really careful just to make sure that you are following those rules. And moving right along, if the loan goes into default, don't delay, take action immediately. We've actually had people call us and like, hey, my borrower hasn't made payments in 3 years. What do I do? I'm like, first of all, you should have done something about this 3 years ago. Second of all, you really need to talk to an attorney in this case. And it's just something that's really important. Again, it goes back to the structuring of the documents, understand who you're doing deals with, and understand the types of investments that you're getting into, because at the end of the day, the best way to get out of these issues is to avoid them in the first place and to make sure that you've taken the right steps from day one that will hopefully minimize these chances of happening. And if you're unsure about the loan, even if you are sure about the loan, hire a professional to help you evaluate the deal. It's funny because this is more so from the borrower's perspective, but if you're looking to like borrow private money on a deal, take your deal to a hard money lender. If that hard money lender will not loan on the deal, there is a reason behind that. So it also does come down to the responsibility of the borrower, and we have a whole different class over this as well, to make sure that you understand the deal that you're getting into. Make sure that you've run your comps and your numbers correctly. That way you're not getting yourself and your lender into potential hot water there. All right, moving right along, we're going to kind of start breezing through these. I don't want to bore you guys too much with these, but get title insurance on your loan. This is so important, whether you're either buying a property or doing a loan. Title insurance, guys, just do it. Like, don't not do it, because if anything goes wrong with that, it will save your butt. It's happened to people that I know before. You want to make sure that you've paid that literally extra couple $100s for that title insurance. Make sure that your borrower has the right flood insurance, hazard insurance in place, especially since there's a good chance that they are rehabbing that property. You want to make sure that your borrower has the right insurance in place, so if the house floods, or if something happens to the house, it catches on fire, a contractor falls, it doesn't mess with your part of the deal as the lender. Insist that property taxes are paid, get a personal guarantee if lending to an entity. This is actually something that I've learned kind of recently, not recently, maybe in the last year. If you're being a private lender, don't loan to that person individually. Loan to the entity, because if that person passes away or if something happens, if your loan is to the entity, it's going to be much less of a headache than if you've loaned those funds to the person as an individual. If you want more details about that, I'll be honest, that's about the extent that my knowledge goes, but a great attorney could really help you out to let you know what type of entity or who you should be loaning to from there. Also, do I want to be in second position? Do I want to allow a second behind me? Guys, this is getting a bit more complicated here, but these are some things as a private lender that you do want to consider. We actually teach some classes specifically over wraps, second lien positions, and partnering people that you don't know. I personally wouldn't do that. That one's spelled correctly, but I don't know if I would do it. I would only partner with people that I know, like, and trust. Guys, the more that you create a circle of reputable people around you, the more that you rely on others that have been doing this for a few years, that you can trust, that are reputable, the more chances that you're going to have at success here. And yep, there's also kind of two sides to this. I'm going to kind of breeze through these because we're almost out of time here, but up until this point, after we covered the basics, we're really kind of talking about you using your IRA as a private lender. But who here also is buying real estate outside of their IRA? Who here buys real estate? How do you get your money for these deals? Hard money lenders, traditional banks, private lenders. Private lenders, yeah. Guys, there's a lot of money out there in retirement accounts. There is upwards of close to $40 trillion in American IRAs all throughout the country. Sorry, that was nice. At Quest alone, when we close our doors, we have about $400 million in undirected cash. Quest is only one self-directed IRA custodian out there. We have $400 million at the end of every day, and self-directed IRAs in general are only 2% of all retirement money in America. So going back to kind of creating that network, not loaning directly to each other, but bringing more people into the deal. If you guys are going out and you're looking to either raise private capital or you're looking for private lending, start learning how to work this concept into your conversations. Unless you work at Quest, you probably don't talk about people's retirement accounts every day, but it is something that you want to start working into your conversations where hey, I've got a deal, I need some funding for this. Do you know anyone who might be interested in being a private lender on this deal? Did you know that you could use an IRA to do this? And once you mention that question, they're either going to look at you like you're crazy, they're going to think it's illegal, and they're going to have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds really interesting. That is exactly when you want to bring Quest into the conversation. Reach out to Steve here in the Austin office. He can be a great point of contact for you guys to help both you get started with your IRAs, but also help your potential private lenders as well. So there's two sides to this scenario. There's your IRA that you use to do deals that helps you save for retirement. And there's also your deals that you have going today that you need private lending for that you can utilize other people's IRAs. So I'm gonna kind of leave it off at that. Guys, we've got a lot of events. We host a virtual networking happy hour twice a month. It's on the first and third Wednesday of every month. It's actually really fun. I host it myself a lot of the time. And we started the virtual happy hour almost exactly about a year ago because we were getting calls every single day with people asking us, when are you bringing back the in-person events? I miss the networking. The webinars are great, but I really want to network with other investors. At every virtual networking happy hour that we host, we get about 35 to 50 investors on every happy hour. You've actually joined quite a few of them, I believe, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's nice because I don't live here, but I'm like, I recognize the faces from the virtual happy hour. So it's a great event, and it allows you to network with individuals from all across the country. To be honest, the virtual networking happy hours, we have not marketed them any differently than our other events, and we've had really high quality people showing up at these events. So if you're new, or if you're looking to expand your network, expand your reach to people outside of your normal circle that you have right now, come to the virtual happy hours. If you guys are watching online, we'll post some links for you. You can also find all of this information on our website, and I hope to see you there. We actually have the next one tomorrow, and then we'll host it on the first Wednesday of October, and I'll be hosting that one because I'll be at a different event in Houston tomorrow night. All right, guys, I'm gonna breeze over these slides. I think we've already hit all of this. Nathan really likes to talk a lot in his presentations, doesn't he? Look at all of that. If you guys want a copy of these slides, send me an email. I've got some business cards right there. I can pass them out to you guys, but utilize your network. If you have a small account, partner them together. There is no account too small to get started. And if you guys don't have a Roth IRA, even if you don't open it with Quest, get a Roth IRA open this year. Go to Fidelity. Max out your contributions, and even if you're growing your IRA at a different, more traditional custodian, start learning about these concepts and start identifying, your path and which direction you want to go with this, because I firmly believe that every person out there should be doing this in some form or way. For every person out there, it's going to be different. We all have our different skill sets. We all have our different things that we're good at and the things we want to invest in, but start self-directing at least some of your funds. You don't have to do everything. Do a deal, see how it goes, get in with the right people, use professionals to structure your deals properly, and over the next couple of years, your goals will only start getting bigger and bigger, and eventually you're gonna get to where you want to be, because I can guarantee all of you in here, you're not here because you wanna work your 9 to 5 until you're 70 years old, right? Yeah, right, we don't wanna do that. I don't even wanna work past 35, gosh. If I'm being serious. But the goal here is to build up multiple streams of income, and as we start doing that as real estate investors, we need to figure out a way to shelter some of our investments from our own income taxes each year. And how do you do that? Do your investments, at least some of them, in a self-directed IRA. So if everything goes according to plan, which you know how that goes these days, we will be hosting this event again on September 21st. Is that correct? Because Austin is the second Tuesday of every month. I'm not sure if that's the 21st. That might, okay. Anyways, I want to make sure that we get you guys the right date. So the way that we are doing these self-directed IRA socials, if you guys have been around with us for a while, you know that this event used to be called the $1 Trillion Mixer. We've been doing that for years. We decided to switch it up. It is now the self-directed IRA social, and the way that we're hosting it, Houston is the first Tuesday of every month. Austin is the second Tuesday of every month. So we'll just ignore that right there. And
That would be the best today.
yeah, and then Dallas will be the third Tuesday of every month. Guys, we make a lot of PowerPoints. There's a lot that goes into this behind the scenes. We host about 4 webinars every single week. So that's okay. You guys in Austin, the day that you need to know is the second Tuesday of every single month. What day? Second Tuesday. I feel like a teacher right now. All right, guys. So in September, we'll be talking about how to grow your IRA through commercial real estate, and another great passive option that we see. And if you guys have not checked out our events, our education online, also, if you guys are clients, which a lot of you guys are, be sure to check out our online client portal. You can now upload all of your investments directly online through the client portal. It's through the QTC Investment Hub. And through the Investment Hub, you can actually see where your transaction is in the review process. You can see exactly which transaction specialist is funding your deal. It's a really, really great way for you to keep tabs of your investments. And to be honest, it takes a lot of the manual work out of our end, and it allows us to fund your investments faster. So if you guys can do me a favor, if you're not utilizing the online portal, go log in, go check it out. We've got a lot of great features through there, and you can also come talk to us anytime. So this is a picture from our Quest Expo that we had back in 2019 before the world allowed us to not host expos anymore. But at Quest, like Ingrid was saying in the beginning, we are very passionate about teaching people about self-directed IRAs. We want this office and our classrooms to be good kind of like hubs and places that people can come to where you're going to get good education, you're going to meet other good people in the industry, and you're going to do the things that you need to be doing to hit your goals and to build wealth and to build up multiple streams of income. So however we can help with that, we want to be a help, and especially as we've all gone through this last year, things can get a little crazy sometimes. I can personally say, as an employee of Quest really took care of us over this last year. And I think just these kind of like principles that we have as a company really feed into how we train our employees and how at the end of the day we treat our clients and the types of customer service that we offer. So that's kind of what I want to leave you guys off with tonight. Hopefully that wasn't too rough. I've never given this presentation before with these exact slides. My PowerPoint is about half of the amount of slides we have in here tonight, but I think we had a lot of good points to hit. I do want to also let you guys know that we have a promotion going on through the end of this month. Whether you are a new client or a current client, we're giving away fee credits up to $500 through the end of this month. If you have another investment coming up, or if you're looking to get started, move some funds over, come talk to us, and we'll give you some free money, potentially up to $500. And I will also let you guys in on a little secret. I've talked a lot about the Roth IRA tonight. We will be doing a promotion at the end of this month, which also happens to be the end of the quarter and the end of the time that we have to hit our goals. We're going to be waiving account opening fees for Roth IRAs at the end of this month. If you guys are interested in opening a Roth IRA, get it done in that time that we have the promotion. It's been a crazy year and a half, and this quarter has been our highest goals that we need to hit since the pandemic started. We are pacing exactly where we need to be, but we can't let up right now. So if you guys are interested in getting started, if you're interested in opening an IRA, come talk to us. We've got these promotions going on. And please get it done before the end of September because we're so close to hitting our goal. I want to make sure we do our part to help the rest of our team hit their goal and make their money for the quarter. So if you guys are interested, come talk to us, do that. And as always, come talk to us. We're always happy to help. And I'm 1 minute over, technically, I guess. Hopefully, yeah, thanks. Hopefully you guys learned something. I know we've got a lot of current clients in the room. I know we've got some new people as well. So I hope this was helpful. Hopefully it kind of opens your mind a little bit. Hopefully you got a few nuggets, even if you've been to a lot of our classes before. And come talk to us, have another glass of wine before Ingrid kicks us all out in a bit. And spin the wheel, except for Bill. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Awesome. Well, that's all I got, guys. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Yeah.
Recording stop.